Live Audio Wrestling.
And let's go. We're now smoking with the best.
It is hour 2 of The Law. Don't forget, still to come in this hour, our interview with Jim Ross is coming up. He is going to be joining us right here live on the show. That is coming up in about half an hour. Along with that, Tight About Trivia tonight is for our second pair of VIP passes to the Hamilton Comic-Con that is happening next weekend. So if you're going to call, you know the phone number, and time it out. You know we're going to talk to Dave for a little while here, and at the end of that, we're going to be looking for callers. So if you want through, these things are worth $250. So if you want to get through, then you know when to call. But right now, as I suggested, Dave Meltzer is on the line. Dave, it has been a busy weekend, but we're going to start things off with Clash of Champions tonight. Overall, what did you think of this show?
I thought it was a good show. There was nothing. There were no bad matches, but there were no outstanding matches. It was kind of there, you know. I mean, there's nothing major for me to complain about, but there's nothing there where I go like, oh my God, this was a great show.
What about
anything like that?
What about? Because there is one thing that's come up with us over and over again tonight, and that is the Best of 7 series not having a conclusion after all of this buildup.
Yeah. Let's wait till tomorrow. I mean, if it's rectified. I mean, although I will say it's weird to, rectify something on the free show versus the pay show, because that tells you the free show is more important than the pay show. But with a network situation, I don't know. It's not as big a deal as it would have been like 4 years ago when they did stuff like that all the time. But I thought they had an idea of what they were trying to do, and that's a real right now because people survive everything and always come back. It's really hard to do that finish where they're both knocked out, especially when Cesaro's in the ring, a minute and a half later, seemingly fine. So it was tough. But I'm sure it's a booking situation and what they wanted to do booking-wise. I mean, in a sense of as opposed to just like, hey, we're not going to have a winner of this Best of 7 series. At least I hope. Yeah,
and it seems, Dave, as well, like fate, just with that suicide dive and seeing Cesaro miraculously being able to recover from that when you've got that finish booked, that's pretty tough as well when you're going from one to the other. Legitimately.
The funniest part of the whole thing is that they could have just stopped it right then and there.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yep.
And it looked dangerous enough, and it looked like he easily could have been hurt, and they just could have stopped it and said no contest at that point, and it would have been much better than what they did.
And completely viable. I think everyone would have completely bought that as a finish.
What you're talking about requires thinking on the spot, going like, hey, this is the finish we got, but we just got a better finish than what we have by fate, so let's call an audible right this second. And they just don't do. I mean, they just don't do that hardly ever. And this was a case where they didn't do it.
It just seems like a no-brainer. You've got the exact finish that you're looking for.
Finish. Yep. And one that people would have bought.
Yes. Yeah. We jumped out of our seats. While watching that. Dave, how do you feel about the booking of Bayley so far?
She can lose, but I mean, okay. So the booking of Bayley on Monday, where she lost that pinfall. It makes absolutely no sense now, with with what happened tonight. I mean, it made no sense. It made no sense on Monday anyway. I mean, you beat the challenger before the championship match in the tag. That's like exact opposite of what you would do. But then you beat the same person. I don't know if they have this mentality that if we keep beating her, she's going to be another Daniel Bryan. I mean, the worst thing that ever happened was them trying to bury Daniel Bryan and it not working, and now they think it's the template for getting every underdog over by just constantly beating them. So that's probably where it comes from. But I think that it's kind of silly.
And going forward, Dave, it feels that Owens and Rollins, you can certainly extend that to the Hell in a Cell. That finish seemed designed for that. Do you sense the same with Charlotte and Sasha, as it was Sasha not taking the fall, that those could be your two matches?
Yeah, so I think they may have Jericho in a three-way, because that was the original plan for Hell in a Cell, was Balor, Jericho, and Owens. And with Jericho so involved, I can see maybe Rollins asks for him, because for Foley to put him in after he screwed up the match would seem, that would seem like something you wouldn't do. So, so when Jericho beat Sami Zayn, immediately I thought, okay, they're going to put Jericho in the main event on the next show in a three-way, and then he comes out and interferes and gets involved in the match, and so I have I think it's going to be a three-way. I mean, I don't know that.
Do you foresee, we've been talking about it for a couple weeks here with, WWE coming up here to Toronto for the first pay-per-view in a long time. It's Survivor Series, such a Canadian presence with Jericho and Owens at the top of the card. Do you foresee that as the match at Survivor Series?
Jericho against Owens?
Yeah.
With the Jericho turn at that point. I mean, they've kind of...
it could happen. I don't know, but yeah, it could happen for sure. Yeah, because you would think that Jericho and Owens is leading to a split because this is like the perfect, this is how they would set up a split, and that would be a great place for them to headline for sure. Yeah, I mean, either that or a match where it leads to the split. I think a lot of that may depend on like what Jericho's schedule is, like how far he's going to wrestle before he goes, because he is going back touring at some point, but I don't, or actually going to a studio and recording another album. So he'll be out at some point, but I don't know when that is. Originally it was going to be November, but it's certainly, from the way he's being booked, it looks like it's not going to be all that soon.
And given their decision to put the U.S. title on Roman Reigns, do you think this kind of just takes him out of the main title picture, at least till around Royal Rumble time, or do you still see him being in that mix?
Yes, I see, for at least till Royal Rumble time, if not longer. I know the idea was to keep Roman Reigns out of the world title picture for a while, so it's another way of getting people to like him. And I guess feuding with Rusev, is the one way, because it's the American going against the Russian, or even though he's from Bulgaria, but whatever, the foreigner thing. So it's been a constant battle for 2 years to get people to cheer Roman Reigns, and they constantly come up with new things. And right now, the idea was, as long as we keep him out of the title picture and get the momentum behind him, and then we'll put him. I mean, he's still the guy. He's still their guy. But they know they can't pull the trigger right now.
Dave, there was a guy on the pay-per-view tonight. He had a belt. His name was T.J. Perkins. I was watching Raw. I didn't know who he was. What did you take out of the presentation of the cruiserweights? Because I did not see it as a good note to start on.
No, not a good start at all. I mean, hey, look, this was the scary thing, is that in the Rollins and Kevin Owens and the Cesaro and Sheamus match had more high-flying than the cruiserweight match. Mm-hmm. And, that shouldn't be the case. I mean, the whole idea of the cruiserweights is the high-flying, and they put in, the first match with Brian Kendrick, they don't do hardly any flying at all. It was well wrestled. I mean, it was okay, but yeah, I mean, as far as presentation, thought process of everything, I think not good at all. Very, very similar to when they first started the women's thing. Maybe worse in some ways, because the women's thing, at least they had an idea. It didn't click for a while, but with this one, it feels like the idea just isn't good at all.
And do you know when Masquerada is fully finished with his dates and then he's in full time?
Very soon. I mean, I think they're just waiting for, it's only a couple of weeks. And I mean, he was there Monday, so it's not like they can get him any day they want him, they could get him. So that's not the issue. And they're not booking those guys on the house shows just yet anyway, I don't think, because at least I know Cedric Alexander was working the NXT tour instead. And Triple H had said that the cruiserweights would probably be on the NXT tour and not on the Raw tour for numbers reasons, which I don't know. That's what he said. But yeah, I mean, as far as I know, he's got some bookings in October, but he's also told people that maybe he's not going to be around in that long. So it's a few weeks.
Next week, Dave, we're going to be sitting here talking to you after Bound for Glory. Hopefully, maybe, who knows? Who's forking up the dough for Bound for Glory?
We don't know yet. We're down to the wire, like every TNA taping. It's down to the wire, and who knows what's going to happen. I mean, I'm expecting something to go down tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. Tuesday probably. Yeah, yeah, Tuesday afternoon. But what it'll be. I mean, I think Billy Corgan's going to end up the owner, but again, it's like, how much money is he going to be able to put in? I don't know the answer to this, because they have to fund this stuff, and there's not enough. I mean, it's not like there's no money coming in, but there's not a lot of money coming in, and certainly not a lot to keep the company going, and they've got like bills to pay like crazy, and they're so it's a financial problem. And I think that it would be better, as opposed to like a Billy Corgan owning it, to have somebody who, a bigger company own it and try to do something with expansion. But that's easier said than done. I mean, you need a paying TV, and they've got a television contract in the United States that's not paying much. Mm-hmm. But they're under contract. It's like they can't leave to go to another station. So they're in a real rough situation, and they're not doing house shows. They're doing 2 pay-per-views a year, and they killed the pay-per-view business to the point where I don't think there's going to be that many people buying Bound for Glory. And who even knows what the card is? I mean, I know what it is. I know the top matches, but it's not like people out there going, oh yeah, Bobby Lashley's wrestling EC3. It's not really been promoted unless you're watching that TV show.
Cody was promoted this week, not Cody Rhodes. Brandy Rhodes, yes.
Cody and Brandy Rhodes, which
yes,
is the clever way of doing it, which they did do.
Yeah. Yep. So do you see, he is not exclusive with TNA, though. He's supposed to be working Ring of Honor and Independence as well, and they're just good with this? All the companies are okay with him just being a journeyman?
Well, other than TNA and Ring of Honor, my impression is he's going to be in TNA until December, and then December he switches to Ring of Honor, and he's not going to be going back and forth between the two groups. Then he'll be in Ring of Honor for several months. But he'll be doing all the indies and probably New Japan. Although his New Japan opponent that he wanted is Shibata, and he's hurt, so I don't know how that affects, what his plans are. So he's got that list of what he wants to do, and everyone's allowing him to do it. So he seems to be having the time of his life. I mean, after that run in WWE. So but yeah, he doesn't want to settle down for any one group. He wants to, and he's doing well on the indies. He's getting lots of dates, and he just wants to, that's what he wants to do right now with his life.
Speaking of New Japan, Dave, I know that Matt Sydal has at least come out of the darkness and at least posted an update that he had passport issues and is in Hawaii now. Is there any update regarding his future with New Japan after missing the dates this past week?
The fact that they put Ricochet with Dave Finlay, the son of Fit Finlay.
Mm-hmm. It felt like he's not coming back.
What?
It felt like he's not coming back based on that show today.
Not anytime soon, because Ricochet and Matt Sydal were, seriously, they were maybe the best tag team in the entire business, if not certainly in the top 3 or 4. They were an incredible team. And, it's like you would never want to break the team up, at least right now. So it's obviously not by choice. Obviously, he cannot go there right now. There's things that need to be worked out, and Finley's going to be in the spot. As far as how long this is going to take and what the problems are, time will tell.
Very quickly, Dave, we're just going to flip over to MMA. Last night we had a UFC fight night. Cyborg wins again. What's the end game with Cyborg? Is it just letting her...
What is the end game? What do you do next? I was thinking,
yeah.
If I'm the booker, who'd I put her against? And there's nobody. It's like, she's a great fighter, but there's nobody there's nobody in her weight class to fight. And she nearly, she had a very hard time getting down to 141.5 is what I was told. And everybody was mad at UFC. It's like, if she's not going to fight at 135, she might as well fight at 145 rather than kill herself to get to 141. I get that. That makes sense. But is UFC going to start a division just for her? There's no plan. I know there's no plans for that. So... it's just like, what do you do? Do you essentially, she's so much bigger than the 135-pound women. So do you book fights like last night's fight, which are really squashes because of the size difference, and then you just put her against unknowns like Landsberg was last night? Or do you take like a Holly Holm and essentially, maybe Holly Holm has a chance, but really it's a human sacrifice. Do you do that and kill your 135ers that are marketable to feed Cyborg, who's going nowhere? It's just this is a tough one for a booker. If it was me, I would, when she said that she couldn't get to 135, my thought was, look, I know you're great, but we got no spot for you. And, the whole thing is they don't want to get rid of her because, she'll go to Bellator, and they'll find, how Bellator is. They're going to find bodies for her no matter what. And they don't want her there, and they still have that thing that, well, if we do Ronda Rousey against Cyborg, it'll do great business. But to me, that's like less and less likely. Every time Cyborg gains 5 more pounds, it's like, what are you thinking? And it just makes that fight more and more ridiculous. In walk-around weight, there's a 27-pound weight difference between Ronda and Cyborg right now. That's two weight divisions. It's a ridiculous fight. And I always wanted that fight. I thought it'd be a great fight. It would do huge business. But it's not a fair fight anymore.
Yeah, well, we'll watch that. It's just weird seeing the soup cans continue to be punched away at. like last night. Dave, Observer this week. Okay, we've established TNA on Tuesday. Something will happen.
TNA sale, right?
But what about what else? Coverage of all the things that you've been watching this week.
Coverage of the where WWE is going to go for the Hell in a Cell show and all that, and got I got some Hall of Fame stuff which will probably be in this issue, but if not, it'll be in the next issue. I'm trying to run down all of the different candidates in all the different divisions.
Mm-hmm.
I've been that's another thing I was doing this week is studying the different candidates, and it's this is a tough ballot because it's like there's no super obvious, but when you look at it, like everyone on the ballot is pretty good. And I'm when you look at like the John Todles's and the Bearcat Wrights and Shibuya and I mean because I was just doing the older guys was the ones I've been studying. And, I mean, they've got great resumes, 20 years, 25 years of main events, but they're not, Bruno Sammartino, and they're not John Cena or anything like that. There's nobody where you just go, okay, this is like their year. But there's a lot of guys where it could be their year.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we look forward to that, Dave, and we'll